Hey y'all, it's your girl Killa. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. So it is cold where I am, and it's probably cold where you are because it is the winter season. So if you're like me, when it's cold outside, you want something nice and warm in your tummy. So the other day I was like, you know what? Let me jump in the kitchen and see if I can make a creamy vegan soup. Because as you know, most creamy soups are loaded with dairy. So I was like, now I want to make a vegan creamy soup. But y'all, not just one soup. 3. I wanted to make 3 because I love variety, so I couldn't help myself. I just got some ingredients, jumped in the kitchen, and whipped it up. I had made it before. I didn't have a recipe I was following. I was just winging it to see how it would turn out. And luckily, I recorded it. So that's what I'll be sharing with y'all today. 3 creamy vegan soups. And if you're wondering what soups they are, I made a creamy tomato basil soup with grilled cheese. And yes, the cheese is stretchy and it is homemade. I also made a creamy broccoli soup, and I also made a creamy butternut squash soup. So if that's something that sounds good to y'all, you are in the right place. This is the video for you, but I'm not going to have you wait any longer. Let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so I'm starting with the tomato basil soup, and I'm chopping up a few garlic cloves, about 3 to 4 garlic cloves. Next, I'm going to chop up a couple of raw tomatoes. Next, chop up half of a yellow or sweet onion. So I have my pot here on medium heat, and I drizzled a little bit of olive oil in the pan. And then I'm going to throw those onions into the pan and saute them for a few minutes until slightly softened. So the onions have been cooking for a few minutes. They're looking good. As you can see, some of them have brown tips. So this is what we want it to look like, slightly softened. And we're going to go ahead and throw in the garlic. The reason why you don't want to cook the garlic with the onion is because the garlic browns really fast, as you can see. So you definitely want to soften the onions first. Next, dump in a 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes, followed by 2 celery sticks. I'm going to chop those up, throw those in there. I use those as like a natural fresh sodium. Not salty, but just a natural fresh sodium, followed by 2 whole carrots, which is going to help balance out the acidity. And then, of course, add your veggie broth. I wasn't sure how much I wanted to use, so I'm just eyeballing it. And then add in a handful of fresh basil. So now I'm going to season it up a little bit, and I'm going to start with some Himalayan pink salt, just a little bit. Followed by some onion powder, black pepper, oregano, smoked paprika. That's going to help give it a slightly smoky taste. Cacao powder. Now this is going to help add depth, but the reason why I added the cacao powder is to help balance out the acidity as well. And then I'm going to add some nutritional yeast to help give it a slightly cheesy flavor, although it won't taste like cheese, but it helps give that type of balance. So I turned the heat up to medium-high heat and let it cook for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, this is what it looks like. It's boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat down to low and give it a good stir. And then I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar. And then I'm going to cover it and let it cook for 10 more minutes. So about 10 to 15 more minutes has passed, and as you can see, the broth has cooked down a little bit and the veggies are looking more like a family. So So now I'm going to go ahead and throw it in a blender and blend this all together. So just a heads up, a big warning, when you blend hot liquids in a blender, only fill it up halfway. Do not fill it up past halfway. Do it in batches if you need to, and be very careful and make sure it's covered because it can burn you. So the soup is nice and smooth now, just like I wanted it. I wanted it nice and smooth, no chunks, just clean, smooth soup. So now my favorite part, time to cream it up. So now we're gonna throw in a 13.5-ounce can of coconut cream. You can use coconut milk, but I want it to be extra rich. So I use coconut cream instead since it's much thicker. But I was trying not to use the entire can of coconut cream, but I got happy, y'all. I couldn't help it, and I don't regret it. It was great, it was delicious. So go ahead, grab your coconut cream or your coconut milk and throw that in there. Look at how beautiful this soup is. It's so silky, it's so creamy, it's beautiful. Y'all, it's so smooth. So I decided to give it a taste test to see if I needed to add more seasonings. And I decided I needed to add a little more brown sugar, a little more smoked paprika, a little more chili powder. And of course, I needed to add some fresh cracked black pepper. I realized I forgot to add a little more nutritional yeast. But y'all, seriously, look at how beautiful this soup is. It's so smooth and so silky. So I did another taste test and all was good. So next we're gonna move on to the cheese for the grilled cheese. So in a high-speed blender, you're gonna put in 1/2 cup of raw soaked cashews, followed by 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, a little bit of garlic powder, and then 4 tablespoons of tapioca starch. This is what's gonna give your cheese the stretchiness. And then I decided to add a little bit of onion powder. And of course, the water. You need to add 1 1/3 cup of water and blend until smooth. So once it's done blending, this is what it should look like. Yes, I know it looks like milk. It looks super watery, but don't worry. Trust me, it is going to stretch up. So with your pan on medium heat, spray it with a nonstick spray and then pour your liquid cheese into the pan. Now you want to make sure that you frequently stir it, constantly stir it. You want to continue to stir it the entire time. It should become stretchy and cheesy in a few minutes. It doesn't take long at all. You'll be surprised. So y'all, it's only been a minute and look at this. You see this? Yes. So now we're gonna move on to toasting the bread. I threw some butter in a pan. If you haven't checked out my vegan butter recipe, the link is in the description box below. I sliced up a couple of slices of bread and I'm going to toast them on both sides until golden brown. So now it's time to plate. Now we're going to make the open face grilled cheese. This is our cheese. This was the end result. You can cook it longer if you want it to be more stretchy, but this was perfectly fine for me. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the cheese and spread it on each slice of the bread and then dunk it in the tomato sauce. I said tomato sauce, tomato soup. Y'all, grilled cheese and tomato soup is such a comforting, delicious meal. It's so warming in your tummy. If you haven't tried it, you have to try it out. It's the perfect duo, especially for a cold winter day. So then I just sprinkled the grilled cheese with a little bit of dried parsley. And last but not least, a little garnish of basil leaf and some fresh cracked black pepper. Y'all, do not sleep on this soup. I promise you it tastes better than it looks. Definitely try it out and let me know what you think, y'all. But now we're going to move on to the next one. So now it's time for the creamy broccoli soup. So of course you have to start with nothing other than the broccoli. Y'all, I'm using organic broccoli. Mine came with 3 heads of broccoli. I decided I wanted to steam half of the broccoli and roast half of the broccoli. I figured that would create a nice dynamic flavor with the soup. So that's what I'm going to do. So once you chop it up, spray it with a little bit of olive oil spray. Extra virgin olive oil. I just have mine in a mister bottle. And then I sprinkle a little bit of sea salt. We don't have to season this up too much because we're going to add the flavor to the soup. So I add a little bit of sea salt and a little bit of black pepper. And then toss that around a little bit. And grab a cookie sheet with parchment paper. And spread that out evenly. This is the broccoli that we're going to roast. So then you're going to place it in your oven on 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And bake for about 20 minutes. Do check it just in case. Everyone's oven is different, but I like to start with 20 minutes. So now it's time to move on to the steamed broccoli. So I have my steamer basket here. I'm just going to throw my broccoli in the steamed basket. There is water at the bottom of the pan in case you're not familiar with how that works. And then you're just going to cover your pot with the top. And it's going to steam in no time. It's probably going to take 10 minutes or less. So this is what it looks like once it's steamed. It's fork tender. My knife is going right through it. So soft and tender. And now my roasted broccoli is done as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and start my soup. So in my soup pan, I throw in my roasted broccoli, my steamed broccoli, and then I sauteed up some onions. I don't have that footage for some reason. I don't know where it went. But yes, sauteed onion. And then I'm going to throw in some veggie broth. I'm eyeballing it. I never know how much I want to use, so I just eyeball it. So now I'm throwing in some homemade cashew Alfredo sauce. If you haven't seen that recipe, you can check it out in my pasta video, my pasta with a twist video. This is going to give it that old school cheesy broccoli flavor, but not too much of a cheesy flavor, because believe it or not, I've never been a fan of cheese and broccoli. I know. Then you're going to add a little bit of almond milk and give that a good stir. Okay, y'all, since y'all family, I decided to share these bloopers with y'all. I had this bright idea to use my hand blender. I can't even think of the name right now. But this hand blender, because I pictured my soup being white with green specks. So I thought I could just blend it up really quick in a pot. And it was a mess. It was a mess. It was splattering everywhere. It wasn't getting smooth like the way I pictured it, y'all. Epic failure. Just wanted to fill y'all in on that in case y'all had that bright idea as well. I tried it. It did not work for me. I have used this hand blender before for like my vegan mayo and for my tikka masala, and it was perfect. But for this, it just wasn't working for me, y'all. So now I'm throwing it in my high-speed blender, and I had to go with plan B. So now we're going to have a green soup instead of what I pictured. But you know what? That's okay. Sometimes you have to pivot. Like they teach us in business. Sometimes you just have to pivot. So anyways, y'all, I decided to add some red pepper flakes just to give it a little kick. And then we're going to blend this up until smooth. So this is what the soup is looking like. It's very smooth, as you can see. So we're gonna throw it back in the pan, and then we're gonna season it up a bit. So the first thing I'm gonna add is some vegan butter. Like I said, if you haven't checked out my vegan butter recipe, the link is in the description box below. It's super simple. I make a batch and then freeze it and use it when I need it. And now I'm adding just a little more of that cashew Alfredo sauce. And I'm just gonna give this a good stir. And then I'm going to sprinkle on a few more red pepper flakes. Followed by some paprika. And a little bit of coconut aminos. If you didn't know, I do not use soy, so in place of soy sauce, I use coconut aminos, and it is a great replacement. And of course, I had to give it a taste test, and I decided I needed to hook it up a little bit more, so I decided to add some vegan Parmesan. If you haven't checked out my vegan Parmesan recipe, the link will be in the description box below. It's super easy. You can make it in 3 minutes. And then I decided to add half of a lemon, the juice of half a lemon. I decided to add some lemon zest because that just takes it up a notch. I love to use citrus zest. It adds so much flavor. So in case you don't know what that is, you just scrape the sides of the lemon or the lime, the orange, whatever you have. And I'm just going to give that a stir. I know this is so random, but y'all, I felt like I needed to add this bagel seasoning, everything but the bagel seasoning, into the soup. So I'm just giving this a stir. But there is one more thing that I wanted to add to this soup. And of course, that is fresh herbs. Y'all, I love fresh herbs. I decided to chop up some parsley and throw that in here. But the soup is good to go. Now I'm going to move on to my croutons. So now that I have my bread cubes, you're going to season it. I'm going to spray a little bit of extra virgin olive oil onto the bread. And then I'm going to season it with a little bit of sea salt. Toss that around a bit. A little bit of garlic powder, of course. A little bit of rosemary. And a little bit of onion powder. And a little bit of black pepper. Y'all, this is so simple. Making your own croutons is super simple. You will not buy them once you make your own. It's too easy. So grab your cookie sheet, line with aluminum foil, spray with some nonstick spray to make sure the croutons do not stick. Spread them out evenly. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're going to bake them for about 10 to 15 minutes. But make sure you check it because everyone's oven is different, and it also depends on how thick your bread cubes are. And this is what it looks like when it's done. Nice and golden brown. You already know what time it is. So now I'm just gonna drizzle on a little bit of the cashew Alfredo sauce and then top it with our golden crispy croutons. And you know I had to make it rain with the fresh herbs, man. I added some more parsley and then I just topped it off with a little bit of red pepper flakes. Y'all, this creamy broccoli soup is good. I know it didn't turn out like I wanted it to with the white and the green specks, but you know what? This was a good plan B, y'all. It was a hit with my family. And last but certainly not least is the creamy butternut squash soup, y'all. So what you see me doing here is I'm just popping it in the microwave for 3 to 4 minutes to soften it up a bit, just to make it easier to cut. Y'all, I'm not cooking it all the way through. It's just a quick tip, a little trick to let you make it easier to cut the butternut squash, because it can be difficult and you want to be careful when cutting it. Y'all try it. I promise you, it makes it so much easier. As you can see, I sliced it right through that butternut squash. It's still hard as a rock, but it's soft enough that I can cut through it. So just cut the ends of the butternut squash off, and then you're going to slice it in half. So now you're going to scoop out the seeds. Y'all keep the seeds. You can roast them up and eat them for later. You can probably also plant them if you're a gardener. So once you scoop out all of the seeds, you are going to flip it over and do a rough chop. Y'all, if you didn't know, the skin on the butternut squash is edible, so you do not have to peel it. But if you prefer to peel it, feel free to do so before you chop it up. I am going to roast it because I want it to have a bold of butternut squash flavor. So I'm going to throw it all in a bowl, spray it with a little bit extra virgin olive oil, add a little bit of sea salt, and then we're going to pop it in the oven on 425 degrees Fahrenheit and bake it for 20 to 30 minutes. But make sure you check it. Like I said, everyone's oven is different and you don't want to burn it. So I'm not sure what this pan is called, but I love this pan. It cooks on both sides, so you don't have to flip it. So if I'm cooking anything where you probably have to flip it on halfway through, I love to use this pan. The heat goes under. There is a tray under there. So I would recommend, if you have a pan like this, use this pan so you don't have to flip it. You may have to cook your butternut squash a little bit longer if you don't have this pan. So this is what it looks like after about 25 minutes, y'all. This is what it looks like. It's looking really good. So it's done. It's time to move on to actually making the soup. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut off about 1/2 inch of ginger. I'm going to peel the skin and then I'm going to dice it up really fine. I love ginger. Ginger is a bae, so I'm excited about adding it to the soup. I think it's going to add a great flavor to it. And then you're going to grab about 1/4 of a yellow or sweet onion and we're going to chop that up. So I have a pan here on medium heat. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and then we're going to saute the onions until they are a little soft. And then we're going to add the ginger. I did lose the footage of me adding the ginger to the pan, but you do want to make sure you add it after the onions are soft because you don't want the ginger to burn. You just want to cook it for about a couple of minutes to get it fragrant. So the butternut squash is done, the roasted butternut squash. It looks so good. So you're going to throw it in your high-speed blender along with the sauteed onions and ginger. Add a little bit of turmeric. a little bit of smoked paprika, a little bit of cumin, just a dash, y'all, just a dash. A little goes a long way with cumin. A little bit of thyme. A little bit of black pepper. And a little bit of black Hawaiian sea salt. I love Hawaiian black sea salt. It's actually great as a topper salt, but it has a little more flavor than normal sea salt. And I'm going to, of course, add the veggie broth. Again, I'm eyeballing it, y'all. I don't know how much I want to add, so I just kind of go with the flow. This is not the entire carton. I've been using the same carton for all of the soups, just FYI. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of sesame oil. And just to show you how much veggie broth I use, here you go. And then we're going to blend it until it's nice and smooth. So the soup ended up being a little thicker than I expected. So I'm just adding a little bit of water, as you can see. And I'm going to slowly pour that into the top of the blender until it reaches my desired consistency. So this is what I was looking for. The consistency is perfect. Look how smooth that is, y'all. Oh, it's so beautiful. So let's go ahead and take it back to the stove. So in my heated pot, I'm going to drop a little bit of vegan butter. Like I said, if you haven't checked out my vegan butter recipe, the link is in the description box below. You won't be disappointed. And then I'm going to pour the beautiful butternut squash soup into the pot. Once the butter is melted, I noticed my pan was too high, so I just turned it down to low. And I added a little bit more cumin just because I had a little left in my jar. And then one of my favorite ingredients that I added is the juice of half an orange. Y'all, this adds a beautiful contrast to the soup and it wakes it up. And of course, I couldn't help but add the zest. I love to zest citrus. And this is what it looks like in case you're not familiar. This is a zester tool and I'm literally just scraping the side of an orange. Boom, like that. Y'all, it literally takes your dish up a notch. It's like if you want orange, but you want really orange, then you add the zest. Or if you want lemon, but you want really lemon, then you add the lemon. Or if you want lime, you know, anyways, y'all, let's move on. Nutritional yeast, we're gonna add some nutritional yeast. Like I said, it's not gonna really add cheesy flavor to this dish, but it adds a good depth to the dish. And then I'm gonna add some brown sugar. And of course, I had to do the taste test. And I did decide to add a few more seasonings. So I'm going to add a little bit of ground mustard. A little bit of smoked paprika. A little bit of onion powder. A little bit of chili powder. A little bit of coconut aminos. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this, but so I just added a little bit. A little more brown sugar. And the part that I get so excited for, the coconut milk. I am using coconut milk this time. So I'm just scooping the cream that's at the top of the can. I'm scooping it to the side and I'm just pouring in the milk. I'm gonna save the cream for a garnish later. So I'm just using the coconut milk. And we're gonna stir that up. Y'all, it's going to be so creamy. The butternut squash soup is already smooth and silky on its own, but this coconut milk is gonna take it up a notch. So then I decided to add a splash of apple cider vinegar just to add a little bit of acidity to it. A little bit of ground nutmeg. And some red pepper flakes. the final taste test. And boom, all was good, y'all. So I just pushed the pot to the side and went ahead and grabbed my pan that I'm gonna toast some bread on. I already had some melted butter on the pan. So then we're gonna move on to plating the soup. Sprinkling on some fresh cracked black pepper. Y'all, the color of this soup is absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry my lighting is horrible, so it's not doing it justice, but it's a beautiful silky orange color. Then I'm just gonna drizzle on a few drops of sesame oil. And now I'm just adding that beautiful, thick, luscious coconut cream that was at the top of the coconut milk can. Y'all. I have no words. So then I'm just gonna sprinkle on some pumpkin seeds. I have some roasted pumpkin seeds here. And then I had some Brussels sprouts that I needed to use. So I just peeled them until they were paper thin and roasted them really quickly in the oven. Y'all, this soup, oh my God. It is so flavorful. It's festive. It's fall. It's warming. You have to try this, y'all. And the topping is perfect. The creamy coconut, the crispy greens, the crispy pumpkin seeds, y'all. It was just so delicious. Remember, y'all, I completely winged all three of these. I literally got in the kitchen, cooked them all on the same day, didn't know what I was doing, just kind of went with whatever I was feeling at the moment and hoped it turned out great. So y'all, hope y'all enjoyed the creamy, delicious vegan soups. I am coming out with a chunky version soon, so stay tuned for that. If you want to make sure you get notified when I post, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, y'all, peace and love.